There he is. So we'll talk. We're going to talk about NBA like we always do, but we're going to get. I'm going to talk to Carson a little bit about this European Soccer League thing that we've been talking about in our house that he's been trying to tell me about and other people about, and I keep looking at him funny. There's stuff developed today because I was on Twitter and I saw that his team, Chelsea, was at one point the fans were gathered outside of the building. They weren't letting the team in on the bus, and then it kind of came out that, hey, we're getting out of this Super League thing, at which point they let them in. And so we'll talk about what that means because it sounds like Chelsea's trying to get out. Some other teams are getting out. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk NBA. We're not going to keep you real long. Just going to have a show. But before we get into that, I want to tell you that we're brought to you by Lammons Fine Jewelry. Lammons is at 1126 North Lamar Boulevard in Oxford. They've been serving the Oxford area for more than 73 years, almost 3/4 of a century, from engagement rings to wedding rings to fine jewelry, watches, pearls, fashion jewelry, children's jewelry, collectibles, and more. Lammons is the gold standard in fine jewelry. Visit them at lammonsfinejewelry.com or call them at 662-234-2777. We're in the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is completely up to you. You can shop it around. You can do what I've done, what we've done in our family for a while now, and that's hop into a Clark Ford. You'll love the product. You'll love the service. Corey and the people there, they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call, 662-257-1900. All right, so I know there's been a lot going on in the world of sports. NFL drafts coming up. A lot of college baseball around these parts, of course. So this European Soccer League thing, sort of the Masters just got finished. This European Soccer League thing kind of came out of the blue. I know you're big in basketball. You played a lot of soccer. You watch a lot of soccer. When you heard about this European Soccer League thing, you were sort of surprised by it. What's going on? What is the idea and what's happening with it?
So, there were like 12 teams. Now it's probably like 10, 11. I mean, a lot of teams are backing out now because all the, I guess, protests and riots and all that stuff. But
in England, where people are upset about their club breaking up, right? Because they view it as the end of the way that they've always watched soccer or football, as they call it.
Like, I mean, all those teams had huge histories, and then literally all I thought this was like the owners doing this to get like $300 million or pounds, whatever you want to call it. It was just like 12 of the best teams in the world in one league, splitting off from all the other leagues and all that stuff. So, I mean...
So it's teams out of the English Premier League, out of La Liga, out
Italy, those three. It was just those three. They were trying to get Germany teams to join, French teams to join, but they didn't.
By the way, did Chelsea play today?
Yeah, they did.
How'd they do?
0-0.
So it was a draw.
Yep, they should have won, but...
So what does that mean? They'll play again, those same two teams?
No. This is just the league.
Oh, okay. That wasn't a Champions League semifinal.
No. There's like a bunch of competitions.
I'll be honest with you. It's the part of European soccer that's confusing to me, is that a team is in the English Premier League, and then they're in the Champions League.
And they're in something else.
Yeah, and so they'll play a game, and you're like, oh, so that was the championship. And you're like, no, that was just a regular game. And I'm like, wait, but... And I'm sure they look at American sports and think,
like, that was like a different
I'm
cup
sure
or
they're
something
confused
like
too.
that.
Yeah. So it's not going to happen now? Is that what we're thinking?
I mean,
it's going to fall apart?
It's probably going to fall apart. I mean, I'd be shocked if it were to happen. But
see, a part of me thought it was kind of cool. But
I mean, not really. Because, I mean, it is cool, but I mean, then again, all the players that were in those teams, they would not have been able to play in, like, the, say, World Cups. And their teams would not have been able to play in, like, the other competitions or in the leagues and all that other stuff. So it would have been...
So that's what kind of marks the end of it, right? When you tell those players you can't play, you can't represent your country in the World Cup or in the Olympics.
Also those players were being punished for their owners' actions. That was part of it that, like, for example, pretty sure I saw some Liverpool players, something like that. They said the majority of them didn't like it, didn't want it to happen, but then again, it was the owner's actions. They couldn't do anything.
All right, so let's talk some NBA. I'm not going to stay super long because you got to get to a practice here in a little bit, or just a shoot around. Open gym. You got to work on your J, right? Yep. All right.
Gotten better.
Yeah, you've been putting in the work. Let's talk some NBA. You want to start West or East? We'll talk about some different storylines.
Do West.
All right, we'll start in the West. So let me get that pulled up. Last time, it's been 18 days since the last time we did a show, which is mostly my fault. It's a little bit of Carson's fault, but it's mostly my fault. It's hard to make it all fit sometimes, if I'm honest. All right, we're starting with the West. We watched a Western Conference game yesterday. A West versus East. I'll start here. We did on the Oxford Exxon podcast. We did a segment today about the NBA ratings are way down. And I said that I didn't think, at least for me, that it was about all the social justice stuff. To me, and I'll tell you, the example that I used was the game that we watched last night some. We watched the Thunder, who are awful, against the Wizards, who aren't much better. But there was a fun storyline in that game, right? Because you got Russell Westbrook going up against his old team, the Thunder. You're a big Russell Westbrook fan. I'm a big Russell Westbrook fan, if I'm honest.
We always have been.
Yeah, yet there's nobody at the arena. It's kind of quiet. And I still love the NBA game, but I'm finding it difficult sometimes to completely get into a game when there's no one there. I want fans there. I want to feel that again. And maybe some of it is normally I don't like to watch a lot of college baseball. And this year, especially since Ole Miss and since the state of Mississippi, I should say, lifted the regulations. Like when Ole Miss played Arkansas that weekend,
it was fun to watch.
It was really fun to watch.
You felt like you were there.
Yeah, and it was loud and it was passionate, and both of the teams got into it, and you could tell the kids. I know for you they're not kids. For me, they're still kids. The college players,
they were having fun.
Yeah, you could tell they enjoyed the crowd. And then this past weekend, Ole Miss went to Mississippi State, and it was the same thing. They had these massive crowds in Starkville, and the fans are doing that chant they do with the with the cowbell thing.
All that, yeah.
And you can tell the kids for both teams
having fun. Yeah, they're
getting a little adrenaline pump out of it, right?
Yeah,
which is kind of what sports are supposed to be. And then you turn on an NBA game, and they're great players, and it's a season that they're cramming all these games into a tight season. So guys are kind of tired, and there's no crowd. And sometimes it's kind of hard to watch. And I think that's the bulk of the ratings deal. But I could be wrong, but that's what I think. What do you think?
I mean, I agree with that. But, I mean, yeah, there probably is part of the social justice, all the kneeling, all that stuff. I haven't seen it lately. I mean, the most I've seen is, like, the kneeling for the anthem. But I haven't seen all the songs and all that extra stuff, but I mean, yeah, I think it is the emptiness. I mean, it's super quiet. The most you hear is the dude playing the sounds, all that
artificial stuff.
Yeah,
I want to hear the crowd.
The artificial crowd. That's the thing that sucks.
Yeah, I want to see
and also you'll look in the stands and you'll see like one person in like every little area wearing a mask.
Yeah, I want to see like Clippers, Lakers in Staples with the fans in it, where the fans are getting into it. And, I want to see.
It's loud.
I want to see a game in Portland late in a game where the Portland fans are making an impact. The game in Utah where the Utah fans are clearly where it's loud. It just feels good where you're watching one. Okay, this is cool. This is going to be awesome. Memphis, like the Grizzlies are making a playoff push right now. And normally when Memphis is a playoff team, FedEx Forum is
Packed.
rocking.
Yeah.
And now it's quiet and it's distant and it's just, I don't know. All right, so let's talk about the West. We've talked about this a lot. My team that I've talked about all year.
Utah.
I've talked about the Utah Jazz a lot. They're number one. I'm waiting for this to scroll across because I don't remember the exact record. Utah is number one in the West, but not by a lot, Carson. These, as of, I'll pull it up on my phone too. 43-15 is what they are. They're 43-15, so they're a game and a half ahead of Phoenix. They are
Phoenix is who I like.
3.5 ahead of the Clippers. They are 5.5 ahead of Denver. So that's the 4 teams at the top of the West. The Lakers are a good 2.5 games behind Denver in the 5.
Then it's
Portland's the 6. Yep. Dallas is the 7. Memphis is the 8. One
Golden
game
State
ahead of Golden State. Spurs still very much in the playoff mix. And then there's the fall. After the Spurs, the Pelicans are not looking like a playoff team at the 11. Sacramento at 12. Terrence Davis, the former Ole Miss star, is kind of getting some big minutes with the Kings. It's turned out to be a good deal for him. The Thunder, doing what the Thunder need to do. They've
11,
lost
11 straight, yeah.
11 straight L's. Anybody that can play sits. The Thunder now 20-38, 5 games ahead of both Houston and Minnesota, who have identical 15-43 records.
Tell you what, though, Lou Dort's, like, if you look at his stats, you'll see, like, 0 points per game, 6 points per game, and then all of a sudden it's like 15, 16, 17. It's crazy.
Yeah, he went for 42 and
yeah, the other night. 7 3-point makes, I'm pretty sure.
All right, we'll get to the Thunder in a second. Let's talk about Utah, Phoenix, Clippers. Those 3 teams at the top of the West kind of emerging. There's a break there. 2.5 games or so between the Clippers and the Nuggets. The Nuggets have lost Jamal Murray, the point guard.
I don't like saying that.
Yeah, it's tough to see because I love watching him play. And he's on a team that when he's on the floor with Jokic and Porter, and they went out and they made the deal for
Gordon.
Yeah,
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon out of Orlando. They've got a nice team. I just don't know that they have enough now without their starting point guard. But let's talk about those teams at the top. Utah, Phoenix, Clippers. I tell you, man, you know this. As much as I love Utah, and I do, I think they're really, really good, it's starting to get difficult to ignore the Spurs. Don't you think? Did I say Spurs? I meant Suns. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah, you looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, what did I say? And now I realize what I said. I said I was an idiot.
The Spurs is Enes Kanter and DeMar DeRozan having words with each other.
So the Suns are 23-9 at home, 18-7 away, 8-2 in their last 10, 24-10 against teams in the West, 6-3 against teams in the Pacific. Very steady. I said Spurs because they play Spurs next. That's what threw me off.
They also have a really deep team. One of the best point guards of all time. And they've got this guy who can score whenever he wants. They've got a cool team. Like I think people knew they were going to be a playoff team, but I don't think anybody put them as high as the 2 seed. But I did think they were going to be one of the top teams this year.
Well, we just have a tendency to forget about Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Chris Paul goes to Houston, makes a big difference. They come within a game of the NBA Finals. He goes to Oklahoma City, does a remarkable job.
Somehow turns them into like a 6 seed.
They were a 6,
Nearly beats the Rockets with Russell Westbrook and James Harden.
Yeah, almost wins a playoff series in Oklahoma City with the team that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and
a bunch of young dudes, and then Neal, Gallinari, Al Horford. And
Horford wasn't even on that team.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
You have Steven Adams.
Yeah.
And then there's the Clippers. It's a weird team, the Clippers. If I told you If I offer you Utah and Phoenix, you can have one or the other or the field. Do you think either Utah or Phoenix can come out of the West, or are you still scared of the Clippers? Are you still scared of the Lakers?
I mean, look, I'm scared of the Clippers. I'm moving out of the phase of being scared of the Lakers because you can see how injury prone they've been. Their team is not deep at all. So, yeah, I'm saying those three teams. I guess maybe throw in Denver, like just to kind of scare you. Not saying beat a team.
Denver. I was in on Denver as a team that could get deep before the injury.
Yeah. And he brought so much to the table last playoffs. He was averaging like 40 points in that series.
Oh, he was so good.
Yeah. I mean, he and Donovan Mitchell, I think that's part of the reason people like him a lot more today also. He was crazy in that series. Both of them were. And then he went on, not Donovan, Jamal, he went on to do crazy things in the next two series. But yeah.
Yeah, they went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably moving out of that. They're probably moving out of it now.
What do you think of the Lakers? 35-23. They've had injuries. They've hung in there. They're starting to get guys back. AD back.
I mean, look, they're still a good team. They have one of the top two players of all time, debatably that's not a word, debatable, however you want to say it, GOAT on their team. And then they've got AD, one of the best defensive players, also a great player offensively too. And then Andre Drummond, yes, he's good. Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, I don't know that they have the shooting to do it. Last year they had some shooting on that team.
Yeah, they had Danny Green.
Yeah.
I mean, they also have like a G League guy who's one of their more popular players. What's his name? Talon Horton Tucker.
You know more about him than I do.
Yeah.
All right, here's what I like about the West. What's interesting to me. I like Portland. Portland in a playoff series, you're going to get Dame, you're going to get C.J. McCollum, you're going to get
scary.
They are a good team.
Nurkic, I remember that series against OKC. He got all the rebounds he wanted.
And then you get the Mavericks. And the one thing about the Mavericks, and I watched them the other day, I was running on the treadmill and I pulled up a Mavericks game, and the thing that struck me about the Mavericks was they've got some weird guys who can't shoot. Right? And then they got some guys they really count on to shoot. Dorian Finney-Smith, they need him to shoot well. They need Trey Burke sometimes to shoot well. They have Hardaway Jr., who's a good player.
And then they have Luka.
Yeah.
So it's not deep at all.
But Luka's ability, Luka Doncic's ability to get to the rim or close to the rim with relative ease. His versatility is such that is Dallas going to win a championship this year? No. But if I'm Dallas, and I said this to you the other day, I asked you the other morning, I said, if you could build a team and you get to start with any player you want in the NBA today, any player today, right now, who would it be? And for me, the easy answer is Luka Doncic. Which tells me that the Mavericks have done a really crappy job of building around Luka. Like, they don't even have people that fit the right roles.
Literally, all they did is here's what they did. So, I think, they drafted Luka, and then this may have even been before Luka. They made the trade for Porzingis, so they traded Dennis Smith Jr., think like a pick, maybe somebody else. They got Porzingis. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. He's been good. Those two. And then they go ahead and they pick Luka. And they've just grabbed some guys. They could have easily at least traded, maybe not for like a superstar, but a guy like, I don't know, a guy that could shoot or somebody that can space the floor, maybe like a Covington, somebody who can play defense. Along those lines, someone who can bring something else to the table.
They play Kleber a lot. They got Boban. They've just got a bunch of pieces that don't make a ton of Nicolo Melli. They pieces that just don't make sense on that team. I'd like to see them do something. Hey, a little breaking news. We'll go talk about the East in a minute. This is some news here. The Nets' James Harden out indefinitely after a setback in an in-court workout, suffering another setback while rehabbing his strained hamstring. You're too young to know this because you're at that age where injuries heal like in a matter of seconds. Hamstrings don't heal fast, and you can really re-aggravate them. We'll talk about them in a minute. They've still got Kevin Durant out with a left thigh contusion. Kevin Durant's not healthy. We'll get to the East in a second. The only other teams I wanted to touch on, because we touch on this at the end, Oklahoma City. You and I were listening to a show, and people were criticizing them for tanking. They're 20-38. They've lost 11 in a row. And I said, no, you're doing the right thing. You're absolutely – and maybe there's a better system to stop teams from tanking. Al Horford's not playing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's not playing. Lou Dort doesn't play every night. Darius Baisley just came back, but he doesn't play every night. Mike Muscala's basically not playing.
And they're starting a 10-pound dumbbell.
Poku. Yeah. Poku's as skinny as you and some of your 14-year-old boys who are growing up faster than your body can fill out. But they're very clearly they're not making any effort to win.
I mean, look, here's the thing. I don't understand why people would criticize a team for tanking because here's the thing. You know you have zero chance of making the playoffs or making a run. What's the point in going into it, trying to make a run, and then you accidentally get like the 9 seed, and so then you not only do you not make the playoffs, you don't even get a high lottery pick.
Well, they have Houston's pick. I think it's top 4 protected, maybe top 5 protected. I mean, the Thunder could walk out of this with the 2nd pick in the draft and the 6th pick in the draft, conceivably. Yeah. So I mean,
that has to be Miami's pick, though. So I think Houston's is top 5.
Yeah, but Houston could get some bad lottery luck and get 6th. Like the Thunder would get their pick. Otherwise, the Thunder get Miami's pick.
Yeah.
All right, we'll switch to the East. We just talked about Brooklyn.
I mean, look, it's Kyrie's Nets now. That's how it was last year.
And that's not enough.
You saw how that went.
Yep, that's not enough if it comes down to that. Philadelphia.
If anything, they're a worse team because he doesn't even have Karis LeVert. He has Joe Harris and DeAndre Ayton.
I've got Philadelphia being 339-18. That's not the case. They're 39-18. If they were 339-18, boy, that'd be a hell of a team right there, huh?
Yeah.
Philadelphia is the 1 seed, and I like their team. Philadelphia plays great defense for a Doc Rivers team. Brooklyn 2nd, half game, game back, but we just talked about the injury. Milwaukee's right there with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Atlanta really playing well right now. They struggled to get the pieces together. They're starting to find it. Boston and the Knicks both tied at 5. Miami is the 7 seed right now, playing better. Charlotte fading a little bit at 8. Indiana fading a lot at 9. Chicago, it's not there. The Wizards tied with Chicago at the for 10. Toronto.
I don't really understand how Washington. I don't understand how they didn't even make the playoffs this year.
Washington,
yeah.
They won't. Yeah, they won't.
I know. I'm saying it. It's pretty
sad.
They
should. I see what you're saying. Yeah, but you have Bradley Beal and you have Russell Westbrook. Here's the thing, and I know this is sacrilegious in our house, but I watched Russell some last night. Russell's just not playing efficient basketball at all, and as much as I love Brad Beal, they don't fit together, and it doesn't work. And Scott Brooks probably needs to be terminated. The coach of the Wizards, they're playing a very old school offense right now. They're insisting on playing a big post at all times.
And they don't have a big post.
Yeah, and so you're playing
against
Brook
Lopez. Like I saw.
Yeah.
I noticed 3 times straight they went for this play. 2 times it worked, in their credit. They would pass the ball down low to Brook Lopez, and he'd do like a turnaround hook shot thingy. He looked like he was 200 years old doing it. But yeah. And he made it the first 2 times. I mean, and in their credit, that was good, but they didn't switch it up at all. And they don't really have a great big. I mean, it's one thing if you have a Joel Embiid or DeAndre Ayton, but they have a Brook Lopez, or a Denny Avija, so I don't see the point.
So Brooklyn's okay if they can get everybody back for the playoffs. My concern with Brooklyn, and when we did our very first show, it was right about the time that the Harden trade happened, and I just wondered if these guys have played together enough. Or in Durant's case, has he played enough to where you can count on him in a playoff series? He's missed so much basketball, and now Harden's got a hamstring. It's not a super deep team.
And you're stuck with Kyrie, DeAndre Ayton. Not DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Jordan
yeah.
And Joe Harris.
I was going to say, they wish they had DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's literally the Kyrie Irving's Brooklyn Nets from last year, but take away Karis LeVert. That's your team.
So if I told you couldn't have Luka as your star player to build a franchise around, who would be your next guy? Is it Giannis? Is it Embiid?
It's Giannis, Embiid, or honestly, Curry or Dame.
Oh wow!
I like those two a lot.
Well, I'll tell you who my guy is because I love Curry, but Curry's getting older, and I love Dame Lillard. Love him, but he's 30.
Yeah.
And so if I'm building a franchise and I can't have Luka, you know who my guy is?
I'm saying go for a championship. I know what you mean. Future, yeah.
My guy is Jason Tatum.
He's one of those guys too. He's probably right after Curry or Dame. If not, he's before one of the two.
But I do love watching Steph play, especially now that he's not destroying the Thunder in the playoffs anymore. You can actually watch it now and go, yeah, I get it.
Awesome.
Yeah, back then it was miserable.
Yeah.
When he and Klay.
That Klay Thompson game, that made me.
It was heartbreaking.
That sucked.
It did. It was heartbreaking. It was awful. They could have easily
made the finals. And then.
Well, they would have made the finals that day.
Yeah, I remember that game 7 too. Durant and Westbrook choked those last 3 games of that series.
What do you think of Philly? Is Philly a title contender? Who's a title contender right now?
Philly.
I agree.
Well, look, they've been the 1 seed
all year.
Since the start of the year. They've been. Look, they've got shooting, defense, post. They've really got everything you need. They have depth. I mean, there's a lot to ask for a championship team, and I think they have everything, or most, if not everything, they need.
All right, we do this kind of every week. Who's the guy in the draft that you're watching now? Who's the guy that's got your attention now that guys have declared and guys are coming out?
I've kind of fell off the Suggs thing because I don't think the Thunder need him. I think it's for them either taking Cade, he's the best available.
Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State.
Yep, or one of the bigs, I guess Mobley, Kuminga, one of those two.
Yeah,
if they get a top 3 pick, I want them to get one of those 3.
Yeah, well, if they get a top 3 pick, I feel confident if they get a top 3 pick, it's Mobley, Cunningham, or I don't know. I don't know who their third guy is. I think
that might even be Suggs just for best available.
Could be.
Or they could then trade down, or I don't know. But yeah, probably Suggs or Kuminga.
Yeah, I like those guys.
I wonder where Jalen Green's going to get picked in that draft.
You know, he doesn't get talked about much.
No.
Everyone talks about him as a top 5 player. For whatever reason, he just doesn't get – I think a lot of it is because we got to see the NCAA tournament, and so we got to see Mobley, and we got to see Cunningham, and we got to see Suggs make a long run. And so we didn't see Kuminga, and we didn't see Green, and so those guys don't get talked about as much right now because they just weren't in the public conscience. That's
the funny thing because Green, he has at least 1 million followers on Instagram, probably like 2 or 3. I mean,
really?
Overtime, the social media page.
Yeah.
His team had his own show
on
there, or their own little episode, season thing. But yeah, I feel like those two, not Kuminga because he's just, bigs are a thing that's needed now. Especially like versatile bigs, but yeah.
Well, especially a big like Mobley who can.
Yeah, I'm talking about Kuminga because they weren't in the NCAA tournament.
Right. All right, we'll wrap there so you can get to your open gym. Again, our thanks to the people at Lammons Fine Jewelry for making this happen. Don't forget, go to lammonsfinejewelry.com right here in Oxford. We would appreciate you doing that, and tell them that you heard about it here on Chasing the Ring. So until next time, for Carson, I'm Neal. Take care.